The List Game is a conversational improv game. We discuss a hypothetical situation, and our cast has drawn a series of phrases from the chicken hat. Their goal is to slip those phrases into the conversation. Every time they do successfully, they get a point. If someone says, "Hey, that's on your list," and catches them, then they get that point. You can also bluff, making up your own. And if someone calls you, you get a bluff point. Do you tip your waiters, waitresses, bartenders? How about tip your podcasters? We need some help with this. Please go to patreon.com/listgame and give us $1.
Where could my boy be? Where's my Joey at? Where?
Oh, Joey, you're gonna give me a migraine.
And it's time to shut up. Welcome to episode number 42 of The List Game. Woo! Your host, Daniel French, is coming back from a week or so of pneumonia. This is some effed up shit, man.
And I've had AIDS for like the past few years.
Oh, I thought that was your brother.
We charged some extra for that. Today, we're missing two members that are under the couch futon thing in the Gimp Pit. Dean and Kathy. We don't know why they went down there. We didn't put them down there, but they've been there.
And God only knows what the hell they're doing together down there.
And what that smell is.
Not savory.
Probably Kathy's enormous feet.
Today's List Game topic is what we worship. Who do we worship? What do we worship? Why do we worship it? Where did it come from? Where is the origins of these things?
The inception,
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I worship Jennifer Lawrence's pristine vagine.
Her rear end doesn't hurt either.
Oh, it hurt after I was done with it.
Zing!
Wait, she's calling in right now. What do you worship, Joey?
Freddie Mercury.
Went and saw the movie?
Yes.
That wasn't him. He's dead.
I know. Wait, he died for our sins. And so
Also because of AIDS.
All of our
so
sins. No, he did not die of AIDS. That is a rumor. He died of food poisoning. Why do people keep saying that?
Well, actually,
What
he
did
died
eat,
of
bad
pneumonia.
mussels or something?
No, he got a bad weenie.
I actually met the guitarist a couple years ago. Nice guy. Really nice guy.
Brian May.
Dr. Brian May.
He worships astral space flight stuff.
And money.
Yeah.
And money. Well, you know that's going to come
doesn't?
up. Lots of people in the world worship money.
Yeah.
Is it worth your time to worship money?
Yes.
I mean, time is money. So, necessarily, it's worth our time.
Especially if you're Jack Burton from Big Trouble in Little
Especially
China.
stuck in all the societies that we have and the capitalism running rampant through the world. Not saying that's a bad thing, but heck, it needs to swing the other direction once in a while. Because the more we worship money, the more that a certain smaller percentage of the people get that money.
Yes, the 3.2%.
So what it really comes down to, I think, is myths, right? What we worship comes down to being tied to myths and that
Myths,
Myths.
legends.
Yeah.
Myth?
Yeah. So
Myth?
people need to know like why they're here. They need to have a sense of purpose, and without a sense of purpose, there's a sort of existential angst, right? People feel lost.
Why can't people just accept the fact that their lives have no meaning and they're a bunch of pointless sacks of flesh?
People don't like that.
Well, that's their problem.
Yeah.
Well, let's bring up some of these myths. Amongst the first myths, I would say we would start with, wouldn't it be the sun? Ancient people living on the planet knowing that things will die without it. Worship the sun. And I will not do the whole all was I am joke that I've already done before.
Tell the one about Freddie Mercury and food poisoning again.
We really like that one.
I didn't. No kidding.
So my question was going to be: is the power in the myth of worshiping the sun? Did that come first with, say, like eclipses, or just the fact that they noticed that food didn't?
I mean,
grow?
that must have scared the shit out of folks way back when.
Yeah. I mean,
Holy crap! That big glowy ball in the sky is going black.
right. I guess, oddly enough, of all the possible things that we could worship, the sun makes the most logical sense. And the reason the sun makes the most logical sense is that because without the sun, we wouldn't have life or anything happening on this planet. Everything is a direct result of the energy that we get from the sun, we convert and makes what we got possible.
Absolutely.
So,
Which created life.
right.
In
So
a way,
without
the sun is God.
yeah,
Because it,
I mean, if
did
there is a
originate.
thing to worship, right, the sun is a freaking great candidate because it actually provides us with everything, and without it, we would have nothing.
Well, that's why the sun god's, the chief god in a lot of the pagan religions.
It makes good sense.
Then I have this question about that: can you see solar flares from the Earth's surface? Because I have heard myths and stories that led me to believe that these people were more so worshiping a solar flare or giving the god its stories.
is solar
because-
flare on your list?
Yes, it is.
I wonder if the first Germanic deities were just steins of beer.
Yeah.
Like just big wooden stein, and he's chief hogbrow of the.
So they learned how to make beer and ale, and they decided that the sun is actually just a sub deity
yeah
that needs to be there
it's
to serve the beer deity.
and it's the sub deity because after they drink beer, the sun becomes blurry. The sun is a social construct. Beer is the
Exactly. Well, all myths are social constructs, right?
yeah. The ones that are really crazy to me are like the ones that are related to Egypt, and I don't mean the ones that are just from the Bible, but like the ones from Egypt in general. Like I heard this one nativity story in a philosophy class where apparently the chief god, I forgot who he was, he started all life by beating off into the Nile. I'm not joking. That is actually what was said in the text.
I mean, there are more far-fetched stories.
And so there were priests who every year
So the first primordial fish were little semen sperms. Little-
That's why they call them seamen.
I guess this god just descended from very steep stairs onto the Nile and then just
On the subject of sub-deities, there's Jared Fogle.
I see what you did. Talk about a
Jared.
fall from grace.
No, even like the Greeks had their whole pantheon of gods that, had the old gods, the Titans had created the world. And
They were the second generation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not going to go into it, but
Yeah, no, it's I'm not.
That's
I'm
what
not,
we're here for.
I'm not an expert on Greek mythology. I have a loose understanding of that. They were defeated by their sons,
the Olympians.
the Olympians, right? And they
Where
were
does Percy Jackson come in?
later with an apple, I think.
Way later.
And they were crazy, right? These gods were very jealous. They were constantly having sex with humans. They were having all sorts of starting wars and hating on each other and being like lunatics towards each other.
Hera.
Exactly. And so, you have Hera's jealous rage. You've got all of the apple,
Is Hera's jealous rage on your list?
yes. And sexual tension everywhere. You've got
All them.
80% of Greek myths are basically Zeus not being able to keep it in his pants.
Yeah, they're all related to him trying to get laid or a consequence of his getting laid. And he'd turn himself into every kind of creature to do it.
Yeah, let's see. He
Bowls.
bulls.
Yeah,
he
rapacious
he
geese.
He pounded
Yeah.
a chick as a swan.
Yeah.
Golden light, a literal golden shower.
So in Greece there
I
was
think
a
he was
lot
an
of
aardvark at one point.
there's a lot of bestiality going on.
I mean, a lot of women
I mean-
had to put up with the whims of Zeus. Yo.
Yeah. Just like that one where how the Minotaur was born. This one chick got into a wooden cow to get close and look at this really gorgeous bull. And for some reason, there was a big enough crack in the back where the ball just went, "It's showtime, Phil," and that's how the Minotaur came to be.
Turns out a lot of chicks in ancient Greece fucked animals, and as an excuse, they said, "Oh, it was Zeus. He seduced me."
Nice. That's funny.
They got away with a lot.
Had to give me some of that Zeus juice.
I think
Jesus
ancient
Christ.
Grecian paganism, I guess you'd call it. People call it mythology, but in a way, every religion is mythology.
They're all myths.
You just pissed off a bunch of Catholics right there.
Fuck you, Catholics.
Yeah.
The Pope's a jerk.
Thick popes suck.
It's still all mythology. It's just once a mythology reaches a certain point, we call it a religion. But it's all the same thing, right? It's a belief system.
Anyway, the ancient Greeks, their belief system was so much more interesting, I think, than you know what was put forth by all the disagreeing prophets of the First and Second Testaments. Oh no, wait, that's the Old Testament and the New Testament.
Well, they had a few thousand more years to develop their whole.
They rewrote
Exactly.
the Egyptian story, actually. What they did.
In some respects, yeah.
I mean, Grecian mythology is so much more interesting than Christian mythology. You know, there's more gods turning themselves into animals in order to rape women.
Yes.
And
Much more excitement.
I think the deities were more human in a way. You know, they say, "Oh, God created us in His image," but you know, if there are human gods out there, I'm sure they would behave like the Greek gods behaved.
Right.
They were petty,
Jealous,
jealous, yeah.
angry.
I mean, they started the whole damn Trojan War because Hera was like, "Hey,
because of an
I'm
apple.
I'm the
because of a
sassiest.
gold apple.
Damn it,
Yeah.
Paris."
Yeah.
Personally, I'm more of an Athena man.
And then you've got like the Hindus that have
Brahm.
an unlimited number of gods. Even they're saying that no god is a form of God, a valid form of God. Therefore, for Hindus, atheism is a perfectly valid form of worship.
Not only do they have an unlimited number of gods, but each of those gods has an unlimited number of arms.
Yeah,
They're really good at multitasking.
that's right.
That's why India is doing so well right now.
Yeah,
in industrial terms, their gods are really busy.
And a lot of religions say that even atheism has its good function because if you choose not to believe, atheism will bring God to you. If you walk around saying there is no kind of God or anything, it'll come to you. Maybe not in a happy way, but you will be shown the light.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's just assume that it is all true for a second. Let's just say, okay, everything in the Bible is true and everything, whatever. So that means that Job, who was a totally good guy, who totally did everything right, who totally worshiped the way he was supposed to worship, because God and the devil got into a disagreement, and the devil said, hey, the only reason that guy loves you so much is because he has everything. You start taking it all away, he's going to turn on you right away.
So God's like, okay,
I'll prove it.
I'll show you, devil.
What?
I'll make this really nice guy's life really shitty.
Poor
just
Job.
to prove a point to the devil.
He lost his
Bend him
wife. Yeah, he lost his wife. He lost his family. He lost all his kids. He lost his farm.
He had
lost his
oozing sores on his feet.
he had porous ooze coming off all of his body. He was in terrible pain all the time.
Boils and pustules.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't eat yet.
God seems really insecure.
I mean, what the hell?
I mean,
dude?
he
All of
created
them are.
everything, including Satan, supposedly.
Yeah.
And then he was like,
the moral,
"Oh,
the
I'll
moral
show
at the
you,
end of the
Satan."
story is it's okay because he got a new family and a new thing and more stuff. But
Never
really-
mind what
Got the
happened to his
trophy.
own family.
I'm sorry, but I don't buy any of this. This whole thing reeks of shit.
Yeah, that God seems like an asshole.
Pretty much. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
Also, destroying Sodom and Gomorrah just because of a little butt sex.
I
mean,
know, come on.
Didn't God make us in His image after all? I'm sure God enjoys.
It's like
a
there's
little
animals
of,
on the planet that don't
backdoor
even
stuff.
get horny, but once or twice a year he could have made us like that. But he didn't. He, she, whatever God is.
She with an X.
Oh, I like that.
We want to respect our trans listeners. Oh, we're going to
good
offend a lot of
times.
people with this episode.
Pardon
Fucking
us, we
jerks.
are stupid. So there you go.
Don't blame us. God made us this way.
I was an old man.
We are the children
raised in a
of
different
the
culture.
Lord.
Well, I mean, it just goes to show, like, you know, we haven't had, like, really, I would say, decent mythologies with good examples of how to be from any religion that I can think of. Christianity tried because Christ really did, I think, embody a lot of good stuff, like giving to the poor, helping people out, like all those things, love being the number one thing.
Turning water into wine.
That's always fantastic, right? So very, very little not to like there. It's just unfortunate that most Christians don't really do anything like what Christ represented. So,
yeah.
There's a bunch of Christians in the South that can turn cough syrup into meth.
Just as good. Maybe as we march onward into the brave new world that is the future, and as technology advances and as we gain cybernetic enhancements, we will begin worshiping some greater AI deity. We will find new things to worship.
we should go back to the sun.
There's an episode of The Twilight Zone where that happens, where they're in the black and white cave, and the guy has to go into the cave to see what God says
Oh,
they
I
have
remember
to
that
do.
one, yeah.
And then at the end, it's the big computer at the back of the cave that they saved from the ship.
I think we should worship the Twilight Zone. A lot of good lessons.
Never trust a talking doll.
I would hope that one would be self-explanatory.
That one freaked me out. That ventriloquist one. Like where
There's more than one talking doll in the
Yeah,
doll.
No, but-
he was thinking of the Talking Tina was.
Yeah.
that one freaked me out. Willie.
Yeah,
Willie.
Yeah.
And eventually they changed looks. He started looking like the doll. That was the part that really freaked me out. I
His
was like,
eyebrows got bushier. And
yeah, and then like, you know, he got the bald spot on his head.
And you know that guy's
And
still
then all of a
working.
sudden-
His name's Jeff Dunham.
Oh.
Ooh, wow.
So what about voodoo?
More like voodoo don't.
Yeah.
I like the dogma version of voodoo. You know, that
Anything
they-
with a chicken
they
dance
carve
has
the
got to be
figurine
good.
out of onion, and you know,
Is
you just
chicken dance on your list?
No.
the hell out of. My version of chicken dancing is just tossing a bucket of KFC in the air.
Yeah, I think part of what helped spread, you know, Christianity, well, there were plagues, right? So, like, the Americas had a lot more people until homie showed up.
Smallpox blankets were introduced.
Until we showed up with plague, and so the few that remained, you know, couldn't really stand up to the invaders, and
It's just cultural exchange. They give us corn and potatoes, and
Yeah.
we give them smallpox.
And didn't they give us syphilis too?
And some hallelujah.
I mean, and then Europe had plagues
And tobacco. They gave us tobacco, too. Don't
rounds of
forget
them.
that.
Yeah.
How much of voodoo came from Catholic religion or white people religion and slaves? Or was a lot of voodoo before they even were brought over here to America?
No, didn't it originate in the New World, like
think so.
in the West Indies?
Yeah, I think it originated in the New World, and I think it was just a mishmash.
Yeah, I was thinking it had to be kind of like a blend, you know, like
gobbledygook.
it had to be
Yeah.
a little bit of like the West Indies indigenous beliefs, but then you got to believe that maybe the Creoles in
Yep.
Louisiana had their own
Had to
version, and there had to be some kind of interchange because
Yep.
of how close the.
Yeah, because they made that like thunderstorm drink and stuff, and that was from the Creoles.
You mean the hurricane?
Hurricane, thank you. They had to throw some people in a pot sometimes, so you know there was some cannibals involved.
Right.
At least in my version, there is.
I mean, I think it's.
Hey, at least they came up with beignets afterwards. You know,
I think
can't
it's,
fault them for that.
Isn't it public knowledge at this point that when you devour somebody, you gain their strengths?
I don't know. Let's give it a try.
And
There's only one way to
religion
find
there
out.
is- Well, I've got great news for you all. Down there in the gimp pit, there's a like a broiler underneath, and I turned it up this morning.
Nice.
So we'll all be having some broiled Dean and
stew.
Kathy later.
All right,
Yeah,
we're gonna be-
I'll eat a little bit of Kathy. See if I can slap the earth
I'm
every
pretty
time.
sure
I'm-
that was the ruling thing for the Aztecs, right?
Gonna melt off the bone.
I have a
That's for our Portuguese and Brazilian
I have a
listeners out
thought
there.
about. I think most humans, right, all agree, regardless of where you are, that certain things are right and certain things are wrong, right? And so we all
I think
kind
everything's right.
of, you know, we-
Like kind of like a standard moral code,
like a
if you
standard
will.
moral code, right? We all kind of essentially agree that thievery is wrong, that harming each other unnecessarily is wrong,
The
that
sun must have
you
blood.
know, being helpful is good. Like these are just basic things that I think you will find under all human conditions, under all human cultures. But where we disagree and where you'll find something where you'll be like, "What the hell are you doing?" It's going to have some myth or religion behind it. And that's what allows for people to consume other people to gain their powers, because there's a religious / mythological aspect to it that is driving their, going against the grain, so to speak, of what is morally acceptable or unacceptable.
Well, you brought up the Aztecs. It worked for them for years. Was that Aztecs or Mayans that, the sun must have blood?
That was more Mayans, but the Aztecs borrowed it.
Yeah, they were all sacrificing.
Who the hell
They
knows
lived
what
in the
happened to
same
Mayans?
neighborhood.
Well, what
They
happened?
went back to Mars, where they originated. Everybody knows that.
They went in their celestial chariot,
Is that on your list?
of course.
Celestial chariots on the list?
Yeah.
It's just weird, like that mythology, that's like a whole nother animal. They got their own set of gods that, well, a bunch of them were alive until their Zeus-style deity, Huitzilopochtli, who was like mothered by the moon or some shit, just came down and slaughtered them all because they were going to try and kill his mother because he was supposed to be the savior god. And it was crazy. Then you got like that, Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent.
Snake.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, he's going to return and everything's going to be good for us. And they thought that Cortez was Quetzalcoatl. And
Here he comes!
here he comes.
Welcome him with open arms. What's the worst that could happen? Don't worry, Mel Gibson will make a movie about us later. It's all good.
Okay, so we know there was blood for the sun, but what did various religions do for the rain?
You've got the rain dances.
Obviously.
Who did that? Did that start with the Mayans and the Aztecs, or is that strictly
I think that's
A lot of
Northern
indigenous
American?
tribes.
North American tribe.
Yeah, it had to be
Yeah.
Northern American indigenous. Like the ones on the Great Plains where they got all the grass. Normally all their water is held in the roots of the grass, which is why the Dust Bowl happened, because they plowed all that grass to make wheat fields for the war. And then they didn't have those grass systems anymore, so everything just became barren. But yeah, so in other words, they needed the rain and they would pray for the rain.
I wonder if they had different dances for different degrees of rain, like a drizzle polka.
The Rocky Like a Hurricane mosh.
The Chumash Indians had that thing where they got, this is after the Spanish came, but they got the burlap sacks. They would trade them for the burlap sacks.
Was this before the casinos?
Oh, way before, yes. Yes. They were still trading seashells and whatnot and doing the thing with the dolphins over the islands, made the giant rainbow for them to cross over. And they would undo the sacks so they just opened up nice and flat, and then they would sew a bunch of them together. And then they would cover the sack, laying on the ground, this giant mat with rotting fruits and vegetables. And the newest wed bride and groom would wrestle on this mush to see who was going to have more power in the marriage, and this supposedly pleased the rain gods. I mean, it rained, and the because they used the sacks, and that's the word that they got from the Spanish was sack. So, and they were the Chumash. It was called Chumasack.
Chumasack.
Everybody would
Yeah.
go Chumasack.
I've heard of that.
Chumasack. And if she got a good bite on his sack, it was over.
Because I thought you were going to be,
good.
you were being serious with that. I was going to say nowadays, in Miami on spring break, they just wrestle in margarita mix in the
It's a
inflatable
story I
pools.
used to tell my son and his friends
Get it?
when they were like
Chumasack.
7. And they'd be marching down the beach in
I
Santa
know,
Barbara.
I get it, yeah. Slap nuts.
Slapnuts. Well, that was from the deity of planters.
Yeah, worshipped by Jeff Jarrett.
They were all druids that grew all kinds of herbs and things, and they discovered the first peanuts.
Yeah.
And they did worship the peanuts, and they gave certain peanuts, the nice big ones, little hats
Right.
and costumes, and that's where the planter's peanut came from.
The last one to worship a peanut in such a way was George Washington Carver. That religion has now been defunct. There are now more Pastafarians in the world.
No, that's a good religion.
Yeah, the Pastafarians are great because pirates are revered as saints. One of my favorite organizations in the United States of America right now is the Satanists, because every time they try to put a religious something or other in a state building, the Satanists come up and they go, okay, well, we need to put one of ours up too. And they will put up a great big thing of Satan just sitting there with brah, the whole thing, boom, boom, to showcase
Are we
why
talking
we
statues?
shouldn't have, yeah.
Obelai.
Yeah.
Satanists pay to put huge satanic statues anywhere where anybody tries to put the Ten Commandments or any religious symbolism on any courthouse or government institution. They will come in and say, if you're going to put that up, then we're going to put ours up. And you're either going to have ours right next to yours, or we're going to have none.
I want to
And
put up the one
Satanism,
from 2010 Space Odyssey. 2001 Space Odyssey.
Satanism
fat
is
monolith?
so
Just-
much simpler.
Oh, it's a monolith. Okay.
Because the Christians, they have 10 commandments, but for Satanists, it's do as thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
And Jews have 613 to
So
keep
just
that
one?
Keep that in mind.
Only one commandment?
That's right. According to, who was it, Anton LaVey or Aleister Crowley? Who wrote the Satanic?
Should be
They
before
do.
that.
They do have tenants. Here are the
Tenants, so they have an apartment they rent out to people?
No, these are
Yeah,
their
so it's called
fundamental
the obelisk
views.
arms.
These are the Satanist fundamental views. One should strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason. The struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions. One's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone. The freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. No willing and unjust encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forego one's own. Belief should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. One should take care never distort scientific fact to fit one's belief. Beliefs are fallible. If one makes a mistake, one should do one's best to rectify it and resolve any harm that might have been caused.
How satanic.
Every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written and spoken word.
God.
Those are the principles of Satanism.
Man, these
and
guys are kind of making sense.
I personally find it to be
Satanism.
the most rational, reasonable, logical, and
Wait,
best thing I've ever read.
But what's
worse
the end
than
game
I could have
here?
ever
Do you-
imagined.
Do you go to one
Be
of the
nice to
milder
people.
parts of hell, or
Well, being that there is no hell, there is no heaven. All of these things are myths, right? And so,
but-
About purgatory.
what's beautiful about Satanists is that it's a direct affront to the crazy Christians who think crazy things and do crazy things like take away women's rights or take away the rights of people in order to promote their own crazy beliefs. And this is a logical, sound, reasonable approach that is in a direct 180-degree opposition to them and makes them very uncomfortable.
I like the freedom to offend in there. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
well, you're offended.
Yeah.
Too bad.
We really need, that's something we need to apply on a national level.
Way too much PC. in
Amen,
this
brother.
world.
Yes. We need a constitutional amendment dictating one has that's the little known sixth freedom that you're granted by the First Amendment, actually. The right to offend.
Yeah.
You've
The
got
holy trolling.
speech, press, petition, assembly, religion,
Yeah.
and offense.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the First Amendment does provide freedom to offend.
It should.
It's supposed to.
And it has on many occasions.
Sometimes.
Yeah. And Larry Flint, he won his case based on the First Amendment.
The KKK.
Yeah.
Cool Kids Club with K's?
Extra cool if you spell cool with a K.
The flying manhood operative with their giant winged dildo. You've never seen it? Look it up. It's up there.
Modern day Marvel superheroes and DC superheroes are our new myths for today's generation.
Well, Thor is old meets new.
Well, it is. I mean, they've drawn on historical myths in order to create a lot of the pantheons, but these are a whole new set of gods that kids worship.
Do you think the all-seeing eye of Sauron is actually a metaphor for
devil.
God? Wouldn't that be thought-provoking?
Oh, it's for a kind of god, yeah. Especially if you read the Silmarillion, and I think
Yeah, and then you realize that
that's
he
what
isn't
he's
But
really
who's read the
a
Silmarillion?
god.
Well, all of those guys, including
Besides
Gandalf and all those mages and stuff, they're supposed to be actually from
Deities.
another planet, though, right?
Yeah, they are deities, but
So what it is there was Uru, who's the main god, and then there were a bunch of Valar, and the Valar are the angels, you can think of them as, right? And so they created basically everything on Middle Earth. And the main principal the most powerful of the Valar, wanted to compete with Uru. He wanted to have the same powers as him, was jealous of him, and hated everything that he created. So he kind of went bad, and he was obviously, exceptionally powerful. So while they were creating everything with harmony and beauty, he was sowing discord and disharmony and turning it around and making it,
But that's not who became Sauron.
No, Sauron
was a Maiar.
lieutenant,
Malar.
right?
Sauron
He was
was
second
his
in
fir-
command.
Sauron was his
Maiar?
first lieutenant, yeah. And that guy, the main guy whose name is escaping me at this exact second,
Baba Booey?
No, that's not his name. He ended up getting killed in a massive war that lasted a long time, that included everybody, and he created like the big ass creature that Gandalf fights in the second
the
movie.
Balrog.
The Balrog.
Yeah.
Well, he created all the Balrog. There were hundreds of them, and they waged these massive wars against elves and humans.
So the Balrog were the Titans or something.
Yeah, but they were all exceptionally stupid. When it came to the GED, they could not pass.
They were all blaming
That was a bad one, but we only have our elves to blame.
Damn.
I'm going to stop right now. We always need to leave them wanting more. Door.
In a way, the list game is
An empty space.
this is kind of like a place of worship. I mean, think about it. We show up every Sunday.
Every Sunday,
That's
same
right.
time.
I'm wearing my Sunday best,
That's
as you
right.
can see.
That's right.
We all pay tribute to popular culture
Yes.
and stuff, and people kind of
Pay
We
tribute
are-
to life.
We orate into the phallic device.
And we celebrate eating people.
maybe we're the deities because other people, they listen to us. They accept our gospel.
Yes, all you out there, remember to go to patreon.com/listgame.
Yeah, if you can justify giving the church, 10% of your income, you can certainly give us 0.5, maybe 1%.
0.001.
You don't need that. Don't be greedy. You're gonna go to hell.
Or we'll show up to your house speaking in tongues.
Send us your spare change. List game listeners are lazy. It's not about the money. It's that they have to remember to click on something and fill out a thing.
Click it.
Or we will subject you to the curse.
We'll get our voodoo out.
We are worshiping Otet and what's that dog? Anubis.
This is a civilization who thought it was okay to have an inbred, sickly child king with a club foot.
But
are
in
you
their
talking about?
defense, they did worship cats. They worshiped
They
cats.
worship cats.
And cats were revered in their society, and that always gives them a couple points in my book.
They knew who was boss.
Plus,
So they knew how to get rid of the rats and shit. That's why they didn't get hit with the plague.
all throughout Europe, those motherfuckers knew how to build. They build down, they build up, they build every which way. They built
But they
things
had
that
help from
today,
aliens, man.
If today, no, they didn't.
Again with this shit.
They didn't. They didn't.
Illegal
They really
aliens.
didn't. They really didn't.
There's
So
pictures on the hieroglyphs
So
of the
the-
dude in the spaceship.
there was no pictures of any fucking spaceships in any hieroglyphs. Okay, these guys
Careful,
built
you're
it all
gonna,
themselves.
you're gonna trigger that History Channel guy.
They built it all themselves.
Ancient aliens.
Yeah, it's all bullshit. That's all bullshit. All that crap is bullshit. These guys just knew how to build. In fact, there's a guy in Florida that built these huge 2-ton things out of corals.
Is
all
he the infamous
himself.
Florida man?
The Florida man? Yes.
There's so many of them.
but
No,
there
it's
really-
only one, Joey.
There really is a guy in Florida that built all this stuff, because once you figure out how to use leverage properly, you can move.
Oh,
anything.
you're right. I saw this. Yes.
It's kind of like that rule: anything's a dildo if you're brave enough. Sorry, Kathy, to reveal your secret.
She's a very brave woman.
They were trying to figure out, like how they got that realistic bow piece on the cruise ship, but it turns out that Kathy was just feeling brave.
So yeah, those guys they built huge buildings and had ships inside of them. Guys, in
Why would
Egypt
you put a
were the
ship
best.
in a building?
Well, because it was.
I don't know why. I don't know why would you put? Yeah, why would you build a ship bottle in a bottle?
It was a burial and the ships were for the dude to use in the afterlife.
To get
because
to the next place.
everything that they thought they needed for the afterlife, they needed.
And they were able to read the hieroglyphs that were on the side of this one ship, and it was the NCC. It was the Enterprise, man.
1701A.
1701A.
I know this isn't really about belief. Well, I guess it is about beliefs and like legends and voodoo. Do you ever think that they're actually going to open the first Chinese emperor's tomb? Because when they found the terracotta army, they're like, oh, we found something huge. And they know where the tomb is. It's under this huge grassy knoll, right? But they've just heard...
grassy knoll.
The
they've just
grassy
heard-
knoll behind which the true assassin of JFK hid?
Exactly.
He was a good shot.
But it's like
Long range.
it's like crazy because you hear these stories of vast riches and the river of Mercury and everything, but you hear like the crazy story about like the curses.
That's why
behind
they don't
too.
open it. No, they don't open it because they don't want to pull the whole Al
don't wanna
Capone's
curse.
vault. No, they don't want to pull the whole Al Capone's vault thing.
Open it up.
What was that about?
We open it and it's just like there's a poster or something.
Just saying, congratulations, you were stupid enough to try and withstand the curse. Have a nice day.
You know, the ancient Celtic priests used the robes of druids as cum rags. Little known fact.
Well, they used their robes as comrades.
Sounds more like Judas priests
when they
to
were
me.
still wearing them.
They came on them while they were on the druids.
Henceforth, you have the great
Stonehenge.
legend of the crispy fluids of druids.
The Bible would be a lot different if someone had tried to like splooge on Jesus. You know,
I'm
like,
sure people did.
No, like
Sure people
you know, it's just like this one guy's like,
Part of they left out of the crucifixion. There was a line.
Jesus definitely got it on with Mary Magdalene, E.T. Dubs. No doubt about that. Oh, Jesus had a prostitute friend. I'm sure nothing happened between them.
You see, that's where they messed up. The burning bush wasn't from the Old Testament; it was from the New Testament because he got it on with Mary.
Let alone all the unabridged backstories of the apostles.
Virgin Mary didn't have a choice. She wasn't actually asked if she wanted to be the mother.
Raped by God.
She was forcibly inseminated.
Maybe
by
this is
the
Zeus
Lord.
we're talking about
So,
here.
I'm just gonna point that out as another
Little-
questionable act.
A little patriarchic.
She should feel honored, right?
Well, they had a bunch
Lucky
of
her.
animals in the manger, right?
Yeah.
Maybe God, just like Zeus, maybe they're one and the same, just throwing that out there, took the identity of one of the farm animals.
But she was already pregnant when she got there.
Well, maybe Jesus killed his brother in the womb.
He had to kind of be an only child, because I'm going to quote Robin Williams here. Who would have liked to have been Jerry, the brother of Christ? You know, it's like
Who's Robin Williams?
It's like, come on, Jerry, we're going to the beach, and Jerry's all like, "Oh, great, Mom! Jesus is going to walk on water and get a bunch of followers, and I'm just going to sit there with sand in my ass. Great day for me." Just shows up like you know he's there a few
Well,
years.
you know,
later after the
there's no
crucifixion.
stories about when he was a kid, even a teenager, and even up until he was like 30-something years old.
Bet he was a fucking dork.
I mean, it's just like Dogma. You know, they wrote those books, but they hid them,
He was really angsty.
which is funny because technically that would be a sin
He
of
got
omission.
beat up a lot.
Right.
You're not the son of God, you dork.
He got the swirlies.
By Marsala from Ben-Hur,
The young Pontius Pilate.
or Biggest Dickus.
Not so much a worshipy thing, but since we're on the Bible, I was listening to this thing about David and Goliath, and I liked how these guys took this other take on it. They said that actually Goliath was a sitting duck.
Yeah.
That David was this like dude who trained every day with one of the most deadliest weapons, and it was a ranged weapon, and Goliath's head was a big fat target. he couldn't even get close to David before he was going to be dead.
Goliath, he's a giant, so he's an easy target right off the bat.
Here, I thought it was more like, Game of Thrones Season 4, like Oberyn Martell versus the Mountain kind of shit.
Yeah, no, in D&D, when you have a dwarf against a giant, the dwarf gets a vote
Because he can jump between his toes and under his legs.
That's right.
All right, you guys are getting lost. Should we do points?
Sure, why not?
All right.
Okay,
right.
I got sexual tension, plagues and famine, whims of Zeus, and then I didn't use Clorox bleach.
Joey, what do you got?
All right, I got Mothered by the Moon, Very Steep Stairs, A Sickly Child King, The Burning Bush, Speaking in Tongues, and A Gang of Apostles.
Blake, what you got?
I got cybernetic enhancements, the all-seeing eye, robes of the druids, wearing my Sunday best, disagreeing prophets, and dyeing your chakras.
And I got not solar flares. I did get oozing boils and pustules. With your guys' help, you opened that one up for me. Thank you. I did get rain dance. I did get the mummy's curse. I did get obelisk. And I did get voodoo. I'm not even going to say the points, but it's not that far apart, and it's not necessarily that close. But as usual, Blake wins again. We got to gang up on this guy, Rod. Gotta
Okay.
take him down.
I say we kill him.
Come at me, bruh.
This has been another episode of The List Game, brought to you by
Cinco
Vision.